Hi, it's Victoria. Thank you for visiting my channel. I'm in need of some new promo images for myself, so today I'm working on a self-portrait that I will be using for my new banners. As usual, I'm working on MangaStudio EX4 with a Wacom Intuos Pro medium size. I've created a new page on my illustrations book, roughed the idea I had in mind, did a couple pencil passes, and now I'm inking. MangaStudio books are very useful to keep your illustrations organized and in a single place. It's basically a large folder with individual folders for each page, and the software sees it as a single unity. As the name indicates, they were created for the purpose of making comic books. I will show my comic making process in future videos. As I've said before, MangaStudio is my go-to drawing software. It's responsive and a delight to use. For penciling, I use the thin pencil tool, and when it's time to ink, I lower the opacity of the pencil layer to not confuse lines. Some wonder why I use a neutral color background for my working area. It's to avoid getting my eyes tired. I spend a lot of hours working, so I do everything I can to make it easier on my eyes. Oh, and I hide my tools with the tab key, to not have any distractions around. The G pen for all the outside lines and the Madu pen for the interior details. I have the strokes and correction boxes unchecked, and I changed the pen tool size directly from my keyboard with the bracket keys. I've assigned the rotating tool to the R key on my keyboard and rotate my canvas to get the most comfortable angles to ink. I love drawing eyes. You'll see I add a bunch of small lines to have them look less stiff, and I do cheat and duplicate them when it's a front view image. I add freckles with a pattern brush, and I normally do this on a separate layer to make coloring easier. I also add details to make the image more visually interesting. I especially love adding loose hairs for movement. I take special care in adding different line weights for my strokes. I don't consciously think where the thicks and thins should be, but in general, I make the strokes thicker where curves go in and shadows would be, and thinner lines where the light hits. It's very random, and I just see what looks best as I'm working. Coloring time. I've decided to give the line art a blue-violet tint and color inside lines to soften the image. I always adjust colors on the go, either by replacing them with the pencil or bucket tool, or by bringing up the hue saturation adjust panel or the curves panel. As I was flatting, I was thinking what style of shading I wanted to use for this illustration. I thought of doing my standard flat shading, the same I use on my avatar, but I really wanted this one to pop. And I had been looking at a lot of soft-shaded illustrations in my inspiration folder, so I thought, why not try it? I haven't done soft shading in ages. It was a bit difficult to start because I wasn't sure what I was doing. Basically, I wasn't sure how I wanted it to look, so I just had to play around and do what I thought made the most sense. With a soft brown airbrush, I did a first pass to give the flats different tones. And with the low opacity brush, I started to lay down shadows and highlights. All through this image I've been adjusting the opacity and flow to get colors to blend. After a lot of build-up, I started to like the colors I was laying down. It's very difficult for me to leave my comfort zone because I get a bit mechanical sometimes and want to get everything done quickly and efficiently. But what's the fun in that? Just as I love inking eyes, I love coloring them. I add contrasting shadows and highlights to make them pop in an unnatural way. And because my style is not realistic anyway, I allow myself to use funky colors for details. I do have central heterochromia though. It's what you call having a ring of a different color in your eye. For the hair, I use a darker color to block areas of shadow using a soft brush, and then I go in to add more shadows with a smaller one. I try to follow the flow of the hair and imagine volume and try to represent it. Afterwards, I add highlights and I try to make sure my colors are not just the same brown with more black or white, but to give a hint of red, yellow, green to make the image more rich. Dye my hair purple ombre, so I added the color gradient in a separate layer, and then picked a layer mode that let the shading come through. I will touch up shadows and highlights afterwards, if I don't think they show through enough. I tried a few variations of the highlights to see what I liked best. Then I add my favorite white lines with hot pink details to add even more volume. I of course have myself wearing a Hello Kitty hoodie. I absolutely love Hello Kitty and I collect almost anything with her face on it. I sometimes joke it's easy to get me birthday presents, just pick anything Hello Kitty and I will love it. This jacket in particular has a Hello Kitty head hoodie, so I wear it at conventions so people can easily recognize me. Also because conventions are freezing most of the time, especially when you're sitting behind a table all weekend long. Just like I did with the hair, I imagine volume and try to represent it with folds. Same as with my gem illustration, it's more of an overall light source, because I'm not trying to realistically color my image, but to create that volume. Final details, highlights, and done. But this illustration is missing something. Chibis from my own comics and those from comics I worked on. It sure gets crowded in here. Please let me know if you enjoyed this video and leave your feedback below. Subscribe if you'd like to see more and check out the finished illustrations in the links below. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram for more updates, illustrations, and comics. Thank you for watching. See you next time.